Why don't we? I tell you what. Why don't we kind of do? You can kind of do a double bullet one here because I think these things have a little to do with each other. You wanted to talk about the liquid hex thing from Ben Sierra for a couple of weeks. Leading into that, why don't we just acknowledge a tweet that neither one of us and many others didn't understand at all from Alex McWhirter, the creator of Icosa and Hedron, of course, two things to kind of booster Hex over the last few years. Of all the things that have been built on top of Hex to make it, other than just earning extra Hex through the T-shares, to make it more valuable, Icosa and Hedron have really been the one that the market has decided that this is the one we want. And Alex McWhirter was a creator of it. Richard Hart has even given it a shout out before, which is also very cool. Yeah. But yeah, basically he tweeted the other day, we know that he's been in the works too with cross-chain, with Ethereum versions and Pulse chain versions of both of these. And then Richard Hart also with the eHex tweet a couple of months ago. He's had some thinking to do, but Alex has for some time now wanted to create a basically melding of these two tokens, Icosa and Hedron, into Icosa Hedron, where essentially, as he outlined before, there'd be about a 30-day period where if anybody wanted to, they could put all of their Icosa, all their Hedron into a pool, basically send it away to get back Icosa Hedron. He said migrating 360 terabyte, I assume, of ZFS data sets to new hosts this weekend, preparing for some big things, which didn't take so long, like watching paint dry. Ha ha ha. Hexagon Hill, like many of us, just doesn't understand it at all. So it sounds like he doesn't give many updates. Like he hasn't been around much often, and I understand it. He's a guy that likes to work in the shadow. If you look at him, you look at what he looks like, you look at his beard. This is a workman. Okay, this is somebody that's back behind the scenes putting in the work. Okay. So he's not a diva on camera like us, even though Ewok does have a big beard too. But he's putting the work in. We know something's coming here. I'm really, really excited to see it. So anyway, what do you make of this, even though we don't totally understand it? We know he has a huge warehouse at this point with all kinds of stuff going on. What do you make of this? And then, you can kind of translate into that right into the liquid Hex thing, since these are both beneficial for Hex.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I don't really understand what he's doing either, other than, basically what he's telling us is that he's migrating 360 terabytes of data, probably from one server to the other. And it takes a long time. That's a ton of information. Don't know what he's doing with those data sets. I don't know what he's setting up. One can only hope that he is working on the Icosa 2 protocol. He didn't really answer, I don't think. I looked down through this earlier because I knew we were going to talk about it tonight. I looked down through the chat and I didn't see any other comments by him. So I don't think he really explained what he was doing with them other than just transferring data. So it's kind of a, hey guys, I'm still here doing some work. Wish it didn't take long, but kind of keep you posted as we go. So that's all I got, really. I mean, he doesn't give us much information at all, other than he's just moving data. So.
Right. Well, either way, it's good to see an update from a guy who doesn't traditionally give very many of them, and that he's still out there working. And hey, we see how quickly Icosa and Hedron move. I mean, today, at least Hedron, I think they both were probably up 20%. Icosa is super scarce. I mean, those things, when this market really takes off, I mean, are going to absolutely melt faces. I think it's going to be insane.
I agree.
It's going to be insane.
It's gonna be pretty crazy. So your other question, second half of your question about liquid Hex. So this is going to be something for the more advanced user, probably more advanced than I am, because I don't think I'm even going to play around with it. What it is a self-run protocol. The problem is, you have to go in, you have to install Python to your system. You have to gather a bunch of the Merkle tree information, plop that into the database for Python to work from, and then run some sort of script. And at that point, then you can mint your liquid Hex. And, we're supposed to be making things easier for people and not more difficult. I don't know what that will do for the asset, because, you're not going to get a lot of degen people probably doing this and dumping it. Only the people that really know how to do that stuff are going to be able to take advantage of it. Does that make it more diamond handed? I don't know. Should be an interesting experiment, I think. But either way, what it is if you I think if you've never emergency end staked, you're eligible. I think if you've sold under, I forget what the threshold is. I think it's 50,000. If you haven't sold under 50,000, you're also eligible. So these couple things really just disqualify you. So that Merkle tree of addresses that's out there has filtered all of those people that have done the above things and pulled them out of the data set. So those people are no longer eligible to do it. So if your address meets up with those qualifications, then you can run this script. And I believe you have 1 year prior to your stake ending and 1 year post end. Now, I don't know about the post end if you have to do it before you end your stake. Obviously, if you wait a full year, your stake will bleed. I think it's 1%. Actually, it's 2 years. So your stake would have bled by half if you wait a full year to end your hex stake anyway. So, you don't want to do that, but you can if gas prices were out of control and this stuff became extremely valuable. You could mint your liquid hex and maybe make money to get and sell and then end your stake, so you could afford to end actual stake if it does get that expensive. But yeah, it's just another reward token that only certain people will be able to qualify for, and it's you can't have emergency end stake. I know a lot of the early people did emergency end stake, but it was only to restake longer. Like they screwed up their staking ladder, so they emergency end staked a lot of things so that they could push it out further before big payday happened. So I think that will in itself probably disqualify a lot of people. So sorry for those guys. But yeah, it's just another protocol. I just think it's going to be a little difficult for the average person to get into. I'm gonna do a little more research and see how difficult it is. I will probably do it on another computer because I do all my crypto stuff on its own dedicated computer. I don't really like installing stuff that I'm not sure of. I don't want to open up a port that I shouldn't and just cause problems. So it's going to take some testing and time. And again, I don't know how much they are, how much they're worth. I haven't done any of that research. I just know that there's a lot involved to the claiming process. So
yeah,
if you're experienced at Python and you know what you're doing, maybe somebody can create a front end that works really well. That does it for you. I don't know. That would be something to consider.